Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do this nice simple butterfly. The idea is to route out all the middle sections and then we'll cut it out on a scroll saw. Once that's all done, we'll tidy up with it on a Dremel with some engraving bits, and then we'll paint all the sections some nice crazy colours, quick sanding down, bit of linseed oil, nice bit of spray, and this little project will be finished. As always for me, on these ones that go on my shed, I'm using just fencing wood. You spend a couple of minutes to sand it down on a belt sander I use. It comes up really nice, and it's nice cheap stuff to purchase. As always, I've got our tracing paper. I'll actually just Google search butterfly template, silhouettes or colouring pages, and you'll find a plenty like this. And it's just a simple case of putting your tracing paper onto the screen, and I'll literally just draw around it. You could print it off just as easy if you want to get the right sizes for the piece of wood. So we stick it to our piece of wood with the painter's tape, get a nice pen, draw around it again with your carbon paper underneath, and I will transfer that image no problem whatsoever. You notice on this piece of wood I do have a little fault running through it, so I've incorporated that into the sections that hopefully we're going to route out, and it's not going to interfere with what we want. I'll just show you that quickly. There's our little template all ready to do. Nice, easy, simple project. We leave it on this piece of wood just to allow me more of a surface for the router to run on, instead of cutting it off in two little bits either side, and you've only got that little bit of wood to play with. Now for routing out purposes, I like to use these CNC bits. They come in different degrees. These are 10s and 15s, 20s, and in the olden days I used to get them red caps on, but they are basically all the same bit, just apart from that little angle, the degree at the bottom. Can you just get that one in focus? There we go, just that little end there. This is a 15 today, we're looking at that. Now the will fit a Dremel, no problem. They have a 3.175mm shaft on. However, for a router, mine's a 1/4 inch shaft. We need an adapter collet, 6.135mm, and you literally just slot your CNC bit into the nice silver end like so, and we'll pop that into the router, so you're basically leaving about that much showing. We'll set that to 3mm. I tend to work on 3mm on all my projects. You can go out and buy depth gauges. I've just basically made a piece of wood like so. I know it on 3mm because that is the same depth as the CNC bit, which is 3.175. I'm going to call it 3mm. So I get a piece of wood like that. That's 4mm, 3mm. You can cut out a 5, a 6, and it's, every time you do a project, you can just set it to whichever one you prefer. Now the idea with these is we'll go around all our lines first. Remember, we're doing inset, so you want to be inside the line. Never route out on the line, because if you route out on that one there and on that line there, you've narrowed that distance in between, be it only by the depth of the CNC bit. So always route up to the line. If we're doing outset lettering project, should I say, you would route up to the line there. Inset, you route up to the line there. And the idea is we'll go around all these inners. Get yourself a pencil, shading the areas you're going to remove, or if you prefer, shading the areas you're going to leave. So we're going to remove all these. It's worth taking a couple of minutes just to shade them in, because you may go away, come back, and then start removing this section. Well, that's the end of your project. So they're all the bits we're going to take out. We'll go around then with the CNC bit. Once we've done all that, I like to use these end milling bits. These are all available on eBay or Amazon. They do fit the same adapter collet, so we'll find one like so. Remove the CNC bit. We've done all our lines, remember, so we don't need that again. You slot that into the same edge like so. Pop that back into your router and set it to that depth again, and then we're going to remove all the insides of those leaf sections. So we're basically going to remove all these. Like I said, general tidy up, and then we'll cut out on a scroll saw, put a slit in the back for hanging purposes, and then we'll get a bit of paint in this one, make it nice and colourful. Okay, we'll start off with the routing side things first. Right, we've gone all the way around with our CNC bits. Now it's still a bit powdery, it's still rough looking. That is just the nature of the wood or the actual bits that you're using. I'm definitely ready for some new CNC bits, and hopefully there's some on the way. So we've done our CNC side of things. So it's just a case of simply popping in one of these end milling bits. These are fantastic for clearing out with. Ideal for these small little projects like this. You obviously wouldn't do a massive project with these little things. There's definitely different bits out there. And remember, this is just a personal thing. I use CNC bits. You might want to try profile bits. I use end milling bits to clear out with. You might want to try spiral uppercuts, I believe. Never tried them myself, but a couple of sites I'm on. Or everybody's got their own personal preference, and I'm quite happy with these little things. So it's just a case of finding the one that we know is going to fit in these little areas. We're going to go for this one. And it's just a simple case of removing your CNC bit, popping that in up to that barrier. There is some that come without the barriers. I think I have one in here. Just show you that one quickly. That one doesn't have a barrier on, but they are exactly the same bit. So don't feel you need to go out looking for one that's got the plastic thing on. I actually tried to remove those when I first purchased these ones. Never seen them before, but they're on there solid. And I assume the idea is that you can push that right up to that, so it's nice and snug. Pop that into the router. We'll set it to that one there. I always remove a little section so we can set it to the same depth, or we can use our piece of wood again. So we'll set it to that depth, and we'll start routing out all these inner sections. Right, you can see from that we've gone all the way around with our end milling bits. That's cleaned all that out near enough for what we want. Remember, it's just cheap fencing wood. We are going to tidy this up with a Dremel and a flexi cable and some nice engraving bits. We'll talk about those in a minute, but before that we're literally going to cut it out first on a scroll saw. Now what I want to try and today, normally I've been cutting these out and maybe just leaving a little section there and a little section there, just so it keeps it in the wood itself, if that makes sense. Then when we're going to put the slit on the back, obviously because we've cut this out so far, we will see the shape of the wings, and that will just allow us to put our slit in the back for hanging purposes. If you attempted to cut it out completely, remember, you'll only end up with a small butterfly like that. It's going to be a bit awkward when we come to put our router on to actually try and put the slit in the back. We've got nothing to hold on to, it's disappeared under the base of the router. So just bear that in mind when you come to put your slit in. But like I say, we'll talk about that in a minute. Literally, we're going to cut this out on a scroll saw. Just show you quickly the three types of blade for nobody that's used a scroll saw before. You get the standard pin blade. That's a blade like that, and it does have a pin at both ends. They're okay for your starter saws, and they come on your cheaper ones. When you put any blade in the scroll saw, you want the teeth facing towards you, and it wants to be smooth on the way down, and it wants to feel rough and jagged on the way up. That way you know you've got your blade in the right way. This one will be ideal for this kind of project, because there's nothing to stop us literally just cutting that out, because it's all outer cut. If you're doing some really delicate work, I'm just looking around now, see if I can find something. Not to worry. You imagine we're cutting out quite a small hole in the centre of there. You'll drill a pilot hole with a drill and feed your blade through. Well, you wouldn't get that blade in because those pins in the way. So therefore you'd have to use pinless blades. Now these are fantastic blades, and there's some fantastic people out there that can use them. They also have no pins on, and they're for more your fancier saws that have a clamp at the top and a clamp at the bottom to hold it in place. Same with these, you want the teeth facing towards you. There is actually teeth on there, quite small to see. We're going to get it today? Maybe not, but I can assure you there is teeth on there. Just about see them. And like I say, they want to be facing towards you. Smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. They're fantastic for you doing detailed work where you really want a small hole to get inside. Obviously you've got no pins in the way. You could feed that through your little pilot hole, no problem. Personally for me, and those that watched my previous videos, I just like spiral blades. These actually have a spiral, the full length of them. You just see from there. Now they're not for everybody, and the same with these. Smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. And because the blades are spiraled, there is no teeth facing towards you, because the teeth basically spiral the full length of the blade. Now the good thing about these, and you wouldn't need it on this project because it's such a small project, we could feed it into the pilot hole there, and let's just cut that round, basically just by moving that wood like that, because it will cut up, down, left, right. They cut in any direction. Ideal if you're doing big projects that will not fit, you cannot turn on the scroll saw. Whereas with your pinned and pinless blade, they only cut towards you, if that makes sense. So you would have to start there, you'd have to cut down, turn that project, cut that, turn that project, cut that, turn, and so on. And then to come around here, you're going to have to rotate that all the way around. Well, obviously that's going to bang into the neck of your saw. Perfect world, you'd already cut that off already, so it wouldn't have mattered. But it's a personal thing, so spiral blades for me, pinless or pin blade, should I say, for anybody else. Okay, we'll set the spiral blade up in the saw, and we'll quickly cut this one out. Right, you can see from that we've cut it all out nicely with our scroll saw. So there's the basic shape that we've got today. Now remember, we've got to tidy this up yet with our little engraving bits on the Dremel, and we'll round these edges off just with a bit of sandpaper. And these are quite solid, the antennas or whatever they're called, but just be careful, they can soon snap off. I have made these on a previous video way back at the beginning, where I just didn't have them on at all, and you could put bits of wire in there if you wanted to. The little knobblies on the end, it's entirely up to you. Okay, for hanging purposes, I want to put a slit in here. And like I said previously, this will be too small now. By the time you, just show you quickly, by the time you've got that there, and you're trying to get your router on top of that, it's just too dodgy, and the router will take that and take it away from you. So what I'm going to try and do, and this is the first time for me, is literally leave it inside the wood. So we're going to turn that over, and we'll pop that back in there like so. Just see from there. And hopefully that will just stay in there nicely. We'll mark off where we want our slit to be. So something like that. And a quick line across there. That's plenty to hang that up with. And what we're going to use is a 5/16 T-slot bit. They basically will give you a slit like that one there at the back of the project. So you literally put that into your router. This is the same one I use every time. We'll set it in there. We know it fits across. Coming back out. And that's exactly the same as what we're going to put in the back of the butterfly. And then once it's all done, You can get your screw like so, put that into your wall, your fence, pop that on there, and that will hold your project in place, no problem. The further you have your screw into the wall, so if you just had the edge of the screw showing, that will go in there really tight and be solid. If it's too tight, take the screw out slightly, and it will fit in a lot easier. Bigger projects, I put 2 slits in. So like I say, we're going to try and do that now, and hopefully this surround will be enough for the router to run on, and it's not going to run away on us. Let's pop this slit in quickly, and then we'll start tidying up. Right, you can see from that, we've done our slit in the back. We can remove that now, and that certainly held that in place. And that's enough for us to pop our little screw in there and fasten it to the shed. So we'll put that piece of wood to one side. We'll definitely get 2 or 3 more projects out of that one. So it's just general tidy up time now. Now for that, as always for me, I like to use a flexi cable. I cannot recommend these enough. Though I like to use these flexi cables. This is just a cheap eBay special. And on the end of that, we like to pop in an engraving bit. They come in different sizes. If you search Dremel engraving bits on eBay or Amazon, you'll get a packet of 30 of something like that. And they've all got different heads on. I like to find one with a nice flat bottom. And we're just going to go in, tidy that up like so, all the way around. Then a good piece of good old sandpaper. And then be ready for the painting side of things. Let's start tidying up now. Right, that's enough sanding down for me. We've got our basic shape, what we want there. Now the idea is going to paint inside each one of these sections. Obviously it would have been a butterfly. It's going to be the same on both sides. Nice cheap acrylic paint for me. I like to use Crawford and Blacks. I've certainly got no issues with these. We put a bit of water in to make more of a stain than actual paint. The good thing about doing inset painting, we can paint that in there quite quickly. And then we're going to sand over the old thing afterwards, just to make the wood nice and clear again. We'll put some boiled linseed on there, a nice spray, some kind of varnish, just to make it nice and shiny. And this little project will be heading towards the finishing line. Okay, we'll go inside now and put on these acrylic paints, and hopefully come back when this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. Now you can see on the video, I had put my boiled linseed oil on. That just darkens the wood back down and also protects it, remember. And we also gave it 3 or 4 coats of the crystal clear spray on this one. I've used yacht varnish, paint factory's varnish, whatever I can get my hand to. It won't be the best finish in the world, but it'll certainly do for my little project. You can see it gives it a nice shine there. And that's it. Basically, these little projects are finished. Just nice, fun projects to go on the side of this shed. Obviously, once you've done one, he's going to want a bigger one to go with him. Like so. And obviously, if you've done 2, you might as well pop another one on. Slightly smaller again, like so. And if you've done 3, you can just go as small as you like. There's another one. So that's number 4. And the last one here to finish off. This one's a slow grower and it didn't quite make it. So unfortunately, he's going to have to wait till next time. And there we have it. This little project, or these projects, are finished. So remember, we routed them out on rough fencing wood using CNC bits to do all our lines. And then we use end milling bits, take out the inside of the cutouts, should I say. And then we popped on some acrylic paint, quick sanding down, and then we finished with boiled linseed oil and crystal clear spray. And that's it. This little project is finished. Nice, fun, easy project that basically anybody can do. The nice way to fill in a couple of hours and just enjoy yourself. Okay, we'll pop this on the shed. Thank you very much for watching.